Good morning, welcome to Living Local. Today you are in for a treat. We are learning all about gardening, and it's special because it's from someone you know and love, our chief meteorologist, Frank Johnson.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, about the people and the places where we live. Just look at all the reasons why we call this home. And I'm loving living local. I'm living local 'cause it's where I love to be.
Hey Frank, thanks so much for letting us come out to your house today. We brought the storm tracker in your honor.
Beautiful, nice and clean too.
Yes, nice and clean, I hope. I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm really excited. I
All
bet
right.
you guys did not know this about Frank. He has lots of stuff here. So what is first?
First, I want to introduce my bees. I have 3 hives and they're tucked back in the woods thanks to Hurricane Matthew. I had probably a dozen trees that came down and it cleared out what used to be woods. And it's a perfect place to put my bees.
It is a nice little cove in there.
Yeah, bees are difficult. There's a lot in the environment that kills them.
Okay.
And so if I can keep a hive alive for over a year, they'll give me honey.
Interesting.
Both of these are, one of them's 2 years old, the other one's 3 years old.
So it's a long process to get honey then,
yes,
huh?
yes. The wooden boxes, the big ones on the bottom are where the bees lay their eggs and raise their young.
Okay.
The
Wow.
smaller boxes on top, each one of them has 2. Those are where they leave their honey.
And how did you start with deciding I'm gonna have some bees?
I noticed that some of my vegetables were not producing as much as I wanted or as much
Okay.
as they should be. And so I did a study with the University of San Francisco where they shipped me sunflower seeds. And I grew their sunflowers in my garden. And each day I went out there for 5 minutes and I counted the number of bees. And after 2 or 3 years, I got good at identifying bees. So I would count the numbers and types of bees.
Interesting.
And I hardly saw any honeybees.
Huh.
And they're a great pollinator. So I decided to get my own honeybees, not necessarily for the honey, but to increase pollination in my garden.
Are the honeybees not the most common bee? Is that not what we usually see flying around?
They're not native bees.
Okay.
They're actually from Europe. We have a lot of native bees in the Carolinas that do a lot of the pollinating. But honeybees are awesome because I can put them right in my yard. They live right there. They produce honey and they pollinate a lot of stuff.
So do you have a full bee
I
suit
do.
get up?
I do.
Do you feel like Ghostbusters when you put that on?
I do. I feel safe.
But you were saying, the honeybees are really kind of friendly. They don't really bother you as much, right?
They really only sting when they're defending their hive.
And we were talking a little bit before we started rolling about how a lot of people can't tell the difference sometimes between bees and hornets. And hornets are a very different story than bees because they're mean.
Yes.
And they can sting more than once, you were saying.
Hornets and yellow jackets. We have the yellow jackets that live in the ground, like in the woods underneath pine needles here. And if you step on one of them, their nests, they attack you.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when people get stung, they say, oh, I was stung by a bee, when in reality they were stung by a hornet.
So Frank, what does it take to kind of take care of these bees?
Well, you have to do it right. You have to check them like every 10 days to 2 weeks or so,
Okay.
especially in the springtime. And one of the things you're really watching for is that they're going to swarm. And that's a natural way for bees to increase the number of bees. When the beehive swarms, half of the bees and the queen, there's only one queen in there, will leave the hive and go make another hive. As a beekeeper, you don't want to do that. Bees are expensive, queens are expensive, and so you want to keep them all in there.
You want to leave them alone.
So if there's anything you can do to prevent them from swarming, you'll get more honey
Okay.
and you'll keep your bees in your hives. I go in there and I, number 1, see if they're showing signs that they're going to swarm. Number 2, make sure the pests are under control. The bees do a great job of keeping out the pests or keeping their numbers down. But if a hive swarms, then you've got half of the number of bees in there and they can't defend their hive as well as, say, 30,000 bees. They can defend their hive.
Holy
But
moly.
if 15,000 of them leave and you're only left with 15,000 bees,
Right.
they're not as good at defending it.
Gosh, that still sounds like so many bees. I can't believe there's that many in there. How long have you had these bees?
I want to say 6 or 7 years.
Wow, that's a long time, Frank. are good. Frank is giving us some of this, honey. Stick with us. When we come back, we're going to find out some of the unique vegetables that Frank is growing here in his home garden.